Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today, as you can see, we've got my Evo 10, Letitia's RS3 out, and I thought I'd do a video that I've had requested a few times, which is comparing what it's like having an Evo 10 versus an RS3. Would you like to sell your Evo 10 to get an RS3 like Letitia did? And overall, how do they sort of compare? Because they are very similar cars, but also very different. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, and let's get right into it. All right, so what I'm going to do this is I've come up with 10 different categories, which each car can get a point or they can get half a point if they tie. So these are just generic things that I've come up with. They may not matter to you. Some of them might be more important, some of them might be less, but this is just sort of things that I thought of when comparing the two cars. So yeah, we'll start off with cost of ownership. Now, obviously, Evo 10 is an older car. It's also a cheaper car being a Mitsubishi compared to an Audi. So pretty easy point to the Evo here. Cost of ownership, getting into the platform is going to be far cheaper. The Evo was around, the Evo 10 at least, which is what we're directly comparing today, 2007 to 2015. So realistically, compared to this facelift RS3, which was a 2017 release, which is what this one is here, versus my 2008 Evo, clearly it's going to be far cheaper to get into, first of all, a cheaper badge, which is a Mitsubishi, compared to a more upmarket Audi, but also an older car. So they were cheaper when they were newer, and they're still cheaper on the used market now. So yeah, overall to get into the platform, if you want to get an Evo 10 or an RS3, you're going to save quite a bit of money if you buy the Evo 10. So yeah, that's 1 point to the Evo there. Okay, so the next category is going to be mod cost to horsepowers gained. So how much will it cost you to make more power with your car? Because obviously most people are going to buy either one of these platforms and get into making a little bit more power, modifying the car. And this is specifically aimed at making more power for the dollar spent. Now, this one, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to give it to the RS3 because while parts for an RS3 and for Euro cars in general are a lot more expensive, this car only needed a few mods to make a lot more power than the Evo has. So the RS3 making 475 horsepower to the wheels, all it needed was the intake, an ECU tune, a front mount intercooler, and a downpipe. So on E85, even if it was just on normal pump fuel, it would be making more power than the Evo, or very close to, I'd say still a little bit more. Actually, yes, it does. It makes a touch more because we've got this on flex fuel. So this makes, I'm going off kilowatts because that's how we go in Australia, but this makes 355 kilowatts at the wheels on E85 and 310 on 98 pump fuel. My car, for example, I haven't had it retuned on 98 pump fuel since I've changed turbos, but this needed basically everything besides touching the engine. So this has full bolt-ons, including a turbo upgrade. They both have, obviously, to run E85, we have added injectors, which I think I did forget to mention on the RS3, but they both have upgraded injectors. And this has basically everything the RS3 has: intercooler, intake, downpipe, all that stuff. My car also has the rest of the exhaust system done, whereas this on the RS3 only has the downpipe. Everything else is left, so the catback. This has an exhaust manifold, a turbo, injectors like the other one. Both have the intercoolers and intakes. This just takes a lot more mods. While the mods are cheaper to buy, overall, we spent a lot less to make more power with the RS3 than we have with the Evo. So yeah, clear point to the RS3 there, which is kind of surprising because when buying these cars, the RS3, I mean, everyone was sort of saying, "I'll be careful, it's going to cost so much money to mod," and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, yeah, it does cost more per mod, but you just don't need as many mods. So yeah, pretty easy win for the RS3 there. The dollar spent to horsepower gained, and yeah, it is a lot faster than the Evo, so clear win. Okay, so the next category is going to be aftermarket support. Now, obviously, both these cars are modified and both look really nice. There is quite a lot of aftermarket support for both platforms. The Evo being the older platform and a little bit cheaper, there is just a lot more aftermarket support. There is so many mods you can do to an Evo 10. Now, there is a lot to an RS3, don't get me wrong. We've got a lip kit on that, we've got wheels, we've got an aftermarket steering wheel. Now, there's things you can do. But with the Evo, there's like 5-6 options of aftermarket headlights and tail lights. There's multiple different wide body kits you can get. You can do anything to the interior. As you saw when I popped the bonnets, the engine bay in the Evo is far more modified. There's just so many areas where there is aftermarket support, which is still ongoing for the Evo, which even though it's a discontinued platform ending in 2015, there's still companies making new parts. So yeah, while they're both kind of modified on the exterior, the Evo has more. I haven't gone as wild with the Evo as I could. I could have done, you know, wide body. There could be a lot more carbon fiber parts, whereas they're both kind of left a little bit more subtle with just a few little bits here and there. But yeah, if you're wanting to make a car your own, the Evo has a lot more options if you want to really customize it. So yeah, clear point there to the Evo. All right, next category is going to be tech and interior. Now, pretty obvious here. RS3 is going to take it. It's a newer car. It's a more luxury brand. But I do want to point out they both have some great features. So obviously both of them, you can walk up and the car will unlock. Same for the RS3. So that's just like a pretty given feature these days in most cars, but both have that. Both have keyless start, so you can start both cars while keeping the key in your pocket, your bag, whatever. The Evo though is obviously a little bit more basic. So I've got cloth seats, but obviously there's certain models of the Evo you can get heated leather seats. Letitia's old Evo actually did have that. But yeah, it's a 2008, it's a Mitsubishi. I've got a digital dash, which is half installed at the moment. You can get Android Auto head units and all that, but not from standard. And the interior is just not as nice. You know, I've put a later model door card in mine with leather stitch at the top, but they don't come with that in my model. Don't have light up door sills and footwell lighting and leather dash, whereas you come over to the RS3 and you can just see straight away. Far nicer interior wise quality. We've got leather basically everywhere, dash into the center console, sort of knee rests there. You've got a digital screen, which I'll put a clip of. You've got also a pop-up head unit in the middle with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, adaptive cruise control, like radar cruise control. Yeah, it's got heated seats obviously, so quite obvious it's going to go to the RS3. And then like you got things like the panoramic glass sunroof, and it's a nicer interior to be in. So yeah, pretty easy point to the RS3 there, which you'd expect from a more luxury brand in a newer car. Okay, so now we have the driver experience. Now, don't get me wrong, both cars are a lot of fun to drive. They're both sort of sports compact sedans that are known for fun getting out and driving them. But we're going to give this one to the Evo, as both Letitia and I agree. Since she sold her Evo, she sometimes misses it and wants to jump into my Evo to drive it, just because it has that raw feeling, the steering, the handling. It's just more predictable. You know exactly what you're getting. The RS3 is just a little bit more bumpy and bouncy, and the steering isn't quite as tight. But in saying that, it all depends on what sort of driving you're doing. If we're taking one of these cars to a drag strip or to roll race or something, the RS3 is clearly superior for the driver experience of that. It's so much faster. It gets off the line so well. They both do really, because they both have a dual clutch transmission. But the RS3 being a little bit newer, it does really well in those aspects. But overall, just like driving experience, if you live somewhere where it's just flat roads and you don't have any mountains or good corners and twisty roads, probably the RS3 would be the way to go. But for us, we live with a bunch of mountains around us. We're constantly taking the cars up there. And while the RS3 is perfectly capable and still a lot of fun, the Evo really comes into its own there. So yeah, going to give the point here to the Evo. But just keep in mind, if you aren't into that type of driving, if you just like going straight line pulls on the motorways and at the drag strip and roll racing and stuff, RS3 is probably going to be more your suit, because it will make more power and it's very fast. But for us and for the type of driving we like to do, it's going to go to the Evo here. Okay, so next up we have the sort of exterior looks or street appeal, that type of thing. If you have the cars, you know, taking them to Cars and Coffee, they're going to get attention. Are people going to like looking at them? And this one's obviously very subjective, and I'm going to give it a tie. Both get a half a point here, because they are both, in my mind, great looking cars. If you're into Euros, people are going to go towards the RS3 more. If you're into Evos, people are going to go, if you're into like in the Japanese type cars, people are going to go towards the Evo. Now, it is subjective, so that's why I've given half a point each, but it's kind of going to be something that you're going to choose to be into more. If you like the more subtle styling, the RS3 is going to be something that people are going to get into. If they like more in your face, then obviously the Evo. So the Evo has, you know, the bonnet scoop and the vents. RS3 doesn't. Evo's got a bit more wider guards. It's got vents on the side. It normally would have the big wing on the back. Obviously, I've taken that off. They both have dual exit exhausts and diffusers. Obviously, the Evo here is modified as well, but yeah. I've modified my Evo to be more subtle looking, which is more to my taste anyway. And the RS3 comes like that from factory, where you can just add a few things to it to make it a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, overall, half a point here each. It's a very subjective thing. Some people may hate Evo 10s, some people may hate RS3s. I don't know why you'd hate either. They're both great cars, but just to, yeah, make it even. And the way I kind of see it is half a point each. They both tie here. Both great looking cars that I think people will enjoy when you take them out, just as much as you will. All right, so the costs to run and maintain these cars. It's gonna have to go to the Evo here. It is just a little bit cheaper to run. It has a smaller engine, being a 2-litre 4-cylinder compared to a 2.5-litre 5-cylinder in the RS3. So just for the fact that it takes less oil, that's pretty much what it comes down to. But where we are here in Australia, to insure and register the RS3 costs more than the Evo. So as well, that's going to be cheaper to run and maintain in that aspect. But realistically, they both are turbocharged. They both have all-wheel drive. They both have dual clutch transmissions, although the Evo you can get with a 5-speed manual, mine obviously being a dual clutch automatic. So they both are going to need 5,000 kilometre oil change intervals. So oil filter and engine oil. Just the RS3 taking an extra few litres will cost a little bit more. But you know, they both need yearly or bi-yearly DSG or SST services, which is their gearboxes, and they both are going to need all-wheel drive, you know, diff fluids and all that sort of stuff done every couple of years as well. So they're very similar. Surprisingly, I had a lot of people telling me that the RS3 is going to be a lot more expensive to maintain. We've had it a year now, and we've done every servicing that has been needed to do, and it's really not much different than the Evo. They both are going to cost you some money to maintain, so be prepared for that. But the main aspect is going to be different, is going to be if a factory part breaks, an Evo is going to have a lot more aftermarket options, but also there's a lot more of them out there. You can also get parts off the Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art. If you break something in an Evo, a lot of the times they're going to be similar or the same. Whereas for an RS3, if you do your gearbox in, for example, it's going to cost a lot more than building it in the Evo, which is what I've already had to do. So yeah, easy point for the Evo there. But if you just own them, drive them, and nothing goes wrong, not too much different, but slightly cheaper in the Evo. Okay, so the next category is going to be the daily drivability, usability, and road trips. Just overall usability for the car. This is easily going to go to the RS3. Now, the Evo is still a sedan, it's all-wheel drive, it's going to get you anywhere safely, but the seats don't fold down in the back. It has a tiny boot because it has battery and washer bottles back there. It doesn't have the sunroof, it's not as good on fuel, and it just doesn't have the tech like the radar, cruise control, the parking sensors front and rear, and just many other features that the RS3 does. So, you know, obviously you have the digital dash in the RS3, you have built-in Android Auto, you've got footwell lighting, you've got the panoramic sunroof, which I showed previously, the seats fold down, and it's just better on fuel, has an extra gear, so if you're on the motorway, you've got the 7th gear rather than the 6 if you have the automatic Evo, or if you have the manual, you're only a 5-speed. Yeah, pretty easily goes to the RS3 there. We've taken this on some long trips, including when we first bought it, a 10-hour drive home from Sydney back to Queensland where we live, and it was really good on fuel, it was really comfortable. The seats, while not as supportive as the Recaros and the Evo, they're very comfortable, and they're heated when you need them to be if it's a cold day. So yeah, pretty easy point to the RS3 here. It's a very usable car, it's very nice on road trips, it's very comfy. The back seat is surprisingly, this is in Letitia's driving where she's set the seat, and there is plenty of room in the back seat. Actually, I think the passenger seat is set up to where I was sitting in it last. And you can see you can easily fit someone back there. So I'm 6 foot, I can get in the back of this fine while people are in the front. Comfy back seats, You got cup holders back here. So yeah, pretty easy win for the RS3 there. It's a very comfortable, usable car. And the boot, just one little thing that I absolutely love. I don't know why I love these features so much, but I do. Little shopping bag hook. So when you've got your groceries, put the bags over these hooks and they won't go flying everywhere. Very deep boot, and yeah, the seats fold down. So yeah, easy win for the RS3 there. Okay, so this category, I was kind of struggling to come up with 10. I had a few ideas. This is what I landed on, is the enthusiast groups based around each platform. Now I'm going to give a tie to each. I thought originally it would go to the Evo because it's just been around longer, and Letitia and I personally run a group for Evo 10s and Rally Arts here in Queensland where we have meets, we have a Facebook group, and yeah, it's very welcoming, very inclusive owners. But since getting the RS3, pretty much the same things happened. Letitia's joined a few groups. I even joined one, which is more a Euro one, but Letitia's in like an RS3 group chat where she can ask, you know, what tyre size is going to scrub and what wheel fitment is the best and who has parts for sale. And it's been very helpful to her. She's bought a few parts, she's gotten some advice, and there's a very large RS3 scene here where we are, as well as a very large Evo scene. So while the Evo scene's probably a little bit bigger, both have very passionate owners. You can join Facebook groups for either one, and I think you'll enjoy the community in either one. So yeah, I'm gonna go tie, half a point each for that category. Okay, so now the last category I came up with is the sound. So it's pretty obvious here, RS3 takes it by a mile. It's one of the best sounding cars ever, I think. The 5-cylinder engine is just absolutely incredible. The sounds it makes, especially when you've modified it, like we have to this one with just the downpipe, it gives it like that V10 sound above 4,000 RPM. It really howls. The Evo, not a bad sounding car at all. I've obviously modified mine a fair bit. So I'm gonna put some clips of both so you can hear what they sound like. So yeah, you can see it wouldn't even be close if it wasn't for the turbo that I have in my car. The particular turbo I have makes all that whistling sound, and it sounds really good. I have a really nice exhaust system on my car. The Evo has the stock catback exhaust, and it's still, with just the intake and the downpipe it has, it makes turbo noise, it makes that flutter, and it has that incredible exhaust sound. So yeah, very easy win for the RS3 here. Gonna be hard to find a car that sounds better in my mind. I absolutely love the sounds they make. So yeah, clear winner there. All right, so that's the 10 categories that I decided to sort of rate the cars on. And I didn't expect it when I was coming up with this idea for the video, but they actually ended up getting a tie. So I really thought the RS3 was going to run away with it, even though I own the Evo 10 and absolutely love it. I've owned it for 11 years. Would never want to get rid of it. But when we did get the RS3, I was like, wow, this really is a different level of car. It is, in the ways I've talked about, it is better. The driving is slightly more fun for me in Evo with the way it handles, but the speed, the sound, the comfort, everything the RS3 does is so much better in other ways. But I really thought it was, the Evo would get a couple of points and the RS3 would run away with this. And I actually didn't plan this to be a tie, but they're both getting 5 points each. I could have come up with maybe different categories where one may have been a clear winner, but it just goes to show they're really both great cars. We have both of them in the garage, and either of us can drive either car whenever we want. And I kind of, as odd as it is, they're both compact all-wheel drive sedans that are turbocharged, but it's kind of like a perfect sort of two-car garage, because when you want to go up the mountains or go into twisty roads, you take the Evo. When you want to go roll racing or do highway pulls or go on a road trip or just do a couple of pulls and hear the sound, you take the RS3. They're both usable, comfortable. They both have their pros and cons, but overall, they're very different cars that excel in their own areas. So yeah, surprisingly, it's ended up being a tie. And that's our thoughts after, I guess, owning the Evo for over 10 years and the RS3 for just over a year. And I have driven the RS3 plenty in that year. This is also based off Letitia's thoughts as well, who owned her previous red Evo 10 and sold it to get the RS3. She had the same thoughts. She eventually, originally at one point, sort of thought, did she make the wrong choice because she missed her Evo? But she also loves the RS3, so that's why it works out perfectly that we have both. If she was to sell the RS3, I know I would miss it. I would almost consider getting one myself to replace hers. But yeah, I just think they are both great cars. We both really like the sort of sedan type of car. If there was coupes in the mix, maybe there'd be something that would maybe compete. But for us, these are both great cars. They both have their pros and cons, and you can see I've ended up giving them 5 points each, and that's how much I really like both cars. So if you're owning either one of these, or you're like many people in my comment section who have Evo 10s and have considered making a logical step up to an RS3, and you've asked me to make this video, well then here you go, that's my thoughts on it. I still recommend taking an RS3 for a drive because it may not be for you. You may get into it and think, no, I don't like the way this handles, or if you drive one stock, you're going to think it's not as fast as what I thought it would be. Trust me, a couple of mods and they are absolute rockets. Or you may get into it and be like, oh, this makes my interior in my Evo feel so cheap. Getting back into it was disappointing. I definitely want to get an RS3. Maybe this will be helpful. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, found the video helpful. If you did, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Am I crazy on this rating or what? But yeah, that's where I'm going to end it. So hopefully you guys did enjoy it, but I'll catch you in the next video.